Hi, Vicky.
Hey,
Thank you
Han.
so much for joining me this morning.
Of course, thank you. It's snowing today. I'm literally in the happiest mood.
I know it's literally so magical. I'm. It's kind of weird. Like I'm talking to you through Zoom. There's snow outside. We're not Zoom, sorry, Microsoft Teams. We're literally talking virtually, and there's snow outside, and we're in a lockdown, and it still feels like the world is not back to normal. Do
Mm,
you think, like, how have you been feeling like this new year? How has the past month
mm,
been?
mm. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's been tough. I guess in comparison to last year, we went into the year not really knowing and then having to kind of adapt as we flowed, right? All of us kind of figuring it out together. Whereas this year, I guess we've learnt the lessons of not being in control of anything, learnt to be patient, learnt to, I guess, look within in order to kind of get through this time and do some, I guess, spiritual personal development work. I feel like most of the world's
For
been able
sure.
to have that time. But this year we've gone in with a sense of uncertainty and we are knowingly just kind of, I feel like it's quite foggy in London, at least for the past few weeks. So it literally feels like we're just going through the fog.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it feels heavy. I guess the beginning of the week was Blue Monday, which is apparently like statistically the heaviest time in the
Yeah.
year, like post Christmas. All the kind of hopes and expectations of the new year have kind of perhaps we feel a bit more grounded. And yeah, it's been tough, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah.
And I think combined with this whole idea that, everyone had that, as soon as the clock strikes midnight on 2021, all the pain and the mess and, the situation of, the pandemic and, our society, it all could have gone away. And, we woke up January 1st and we realized, okay, it doesn't work like that.
Right.
So do you think even within yourself, there was a moment where you realized, okay, it's not like one day everything's gonna be better. It's more of a journey and a slow journey to get back to normal.
I feel like I've been learning that lesson for the past few years.
Yeah.
For sure. I think I'm so much of an optimist, an idealist. I love living my life in terms of like dreaming and making things happen for myself and the people around me. Like that's the way that I love to live my life. And I guess I've learned through time that, okay, that intention that I have is going to take some time, right? It's not just going to be magic. I've learned like there's this philosopher, Alan Watts, who says life is like, I guess, an experience of music. We don't listen to the first note and then the last note and be like, boom, that's it. I've enjoyed it. It's more about what does the experience of the whole track feel like? What does the kind of instrumentation and the volume and the just like the kind of waves of the whole piece of music feel like? And I
Yeah.
guess I'm trying to practice that in my everyday. What does this whole day feel like, as opposed to like trying to leg it to the end of the day, and then
Exactly.
yeah, and then what's life, right? So yeah,
And
it's a
it's an
practice.
experiment as well. You can say making it to music. You have to try different notes and different instruments and see what works.
Right.
It's not, I think we forget it's not always about the end finished product, you
Exactly.
know.
Exactly. In this world when I guess productivity is the main focus, I'm just learning to be like, and let that all go. Slow down, rest.
Yep.
Like, where are you going? You're staying home today, girl. So stay home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know. And speaking of productivity, it feels like that was what everyone was concerned about in 2020. So as a artist and as, a creative who had to adapt maybe your musical process, your creative process to 2020, how did you find that? Like what changed for you? Well,
I guess a lot was changing. At the beginning of last year, I was having a baby. I feel like I was just getting this EP out of me, like now. And then we launched it at the O2 Academy in Islington, had my whole team and all of our energy kind of like building up to this moment. We flew out to LA. Everything was like wonderful, had kind of meetings set up, and then the pandemic hit, and I literally was just like, what does that even mean?
yeah,
I'm ready to play live shows. Like, what do you
yeah,
mean? And at first I took a big hit in terms of like, okay, what do we even do now? I have to kind of maneuver myself online and I guess try to still stay connected with people in this new virtual world that is completely like rapidly changing every day. I'm even seeing like new apps kind of being evolved now, which is so exciting. But also, I guess in the moment, I've just had to find a way to write songs with people online, collaborate online. Thankfully, I found a real sense of community. I've been holding on Zoom over the past, I guess, 6 months, which has been genuinely a wonderful kind of source of light in my life, just a way to stay connected with different creatives, keep conversations going, telling our stories, and together, I guess, figuring out what the hell's going on right now. But yeah, thankfully I've been able to adapt, and I guess that's been wonderful, just knowing who my community is and who my people are.
Yeah, and I wanted to say, like you said, the world is so different now in terms of how much we have to do stuff online, and I guess the whole concept of communications changed, where we often we can't even meet each other in person and talk to each other. So in your work, do you try to bring that feeling of community? Because obviously music, just as an art, is about bringing together people, both in its creation and its reception.
For sure.
So yeah, like how do you weave in, your passion for your community within your music?
I love that question. I guess from the very beginning, everything I do is from a place of like, how can I create more spaces of healing? How can I create more spaces of freedom where people feel safe enough to let go and hear my lyrics are very much me, I'm talking about myself, my life, my valleys, my highs, and sharing it in spaces where I hope people feel open enough to receive and to go there with me. So from the very beginning, when I'm thinking about honestly and being vulnerable with my lyrics, and then choosing the kind of producers I want to work with. At the moment, I'm working with Black, young female producers from London. Even in LA, female producers, I'm really kind of thinking about how can I empower, or we even empower each other to be vulnerable and then to release it to people that I hope will land. That's exactly. Yeah, for sure. That it's always been that case. Even with my visual team, I've been working with Emily Almodovar for a year and a bit now, and we met very, very early in my journey, I'd say, when I was still okay, hi, I'm here, what do you want to do? And it's been wonderful to kind of grow together and evolve together, so that I can continue to feel safe. I think safety is a big thing, especially as a woman in the industry, making sure that I know what I'm saying and know what I want to express, and then the people around me know that of me too, and I guess see my heart as Vicky, the personal Vicky, as opposed to Vicky, the artist, and making sure that everything that we're creating together is from a place of purity. Yeah,
and that's incredible. I think even when we met, I got such positive vibes from you in a non-cliche way. Where it was you were so open to holding space for people, while you were kind of simultaneously giving yourself out as well as holding space for others. And I feel that kind of interaction is what your circle is all about, and also music, because I guess you put forward a message that resonates with people, and at the same time they're the way they receive it, the way they love it, is fulfilling to you as an artist. So I really think that interaction is so special, and when there's good energy there, you're always going to get that energy back.
For sure. Thank you for even affirming me like that. I'm learning to even receive. I'm learning to be it's okay, it's just love.
No, but I wanted to talk about Heavy as a track, which focuses so much on holding that space for people, specifically young Black boys, and people of color in general, who have gone through so much in our history, and specifically in 2020, where it felt like the world collectively was having some sort of reawakening.
Right.
But of course, for Black people and, people of color throughout history, I feel like it's always been, there's no reawakening. These are the realities that we're faced with.
Mm-hmm.
And, Heavy addresses that.
Mm-hmm.
So what made you want to kind of touch on the experiences of specifically young Black boys, ages, 16 to 24
Mm-hmm.
in the UK? What made you want to focus on that?
It wasn't planned. I was writing, I experienced the whole Black Lives Matter protest in LA. Everything felt very, very heavy there. When we were kind of walking around, I was overwhelmed, firstly because we'd been in lockdown for a few months, so I wasn't exposing myself to anyone, and suddenly walking outside and the kind of energy and the kind of passion and the outrage that I was surrounded with. I'm a very empathetic person, so I was really, I guess, absorbing all of that energy walking around. And I guess I was just journaling and kind of shocked at myself for not realizing the kind of heaviness of the situation, particularly in America. And also just, I guess, aware of my own privileges. Even though I am a woman, a mixed woman of color, I still know that I do experience privilege, that, I'm not kind of targeted on a day-to-day. And I guess when I came back to London, I was in the studio with a producer who was also, he was Black, and my partner, Kia Briggs, was in the room as well. And I opened up about, I really want to write a song about, love, something very frivolous. And he was just like, thank you for sharing. And I was like, okay, maybe not. And then just like went through my diary again. And I was like, okay, I think it's this. I think it's, the time is now for me. If I'm saying that I want to be a woman of purpose and I want to write music that really talks about what is happening, then now is the time. And thankfully I felt safe enough to do so. I used to be a teacher at a boys' school for 2 years, straight after I left uni. And I was thinking about those boys who perhaps are now having to study from home. Not now, but I guess before, if that was the situation then, and perhaps not being in the best home environment statistically, perhaps not having the best kind of equipment that they're able to even kind of be online and be working from home. And I just felt very sad, to be honest with you. I felt very sad and very helpless in terms of like what, even like right now during COVID, they're the worst hit. And it just, I guess I just felt very heavy and felt like, okay, I'm sorry. I needed to openly apologize, I guess, and say like, look, I'm sorry. Let me listen to you. Let me hold spaces to even just hear what you're going through. I think that's the most important right now. Let's create spaces where they can talk about their experiences, and us not kind of shy away from it or feel very like, if it feels uncomfortable, I guess that's the point. And then to also move forward and create spaces where we can not just be anti-racist, but actually celebrate all the things that they are doing with their lives, even though they're carrying so much of that weight. How can we create spaces where we can just celebrate who they are?
Yeah. And it kind of, when I was listening to it, again, you convey it so well that there's so much, intergenerational trauma and, adopted trauma that, not just Black people, like they take on from, the parents and the grandparents. And there's so much, like you said, it's just so much that we maybe haven't realized or we've neglected to realize because of any privilege. And, even over the last year, with more education and more reading, it really dawned on me how much work there has to be done in every community, because I think we always talk about white supremacy and, how prevalent it is in the UK and America. But I think often the conversation leaves out, South Asian communities or, East Asian communities, and how much colorism and racism is rife in those communities. And I think over the summer, I had that period of self-reflection that even myself as an Indian woman or a woman of color, like you said, there is so much privilege and it's nuance. It's not just black and white that, this is this and that is that. I think, and, Heavy really addresses that when you said that there's so much progress, there's so much work we have to do as a society to reach a space where we're not only, we're not only, accepting the trauma and the work that we have to do, but we can also celebrate it and move on as a society to uplift people.
For sure. I think that's so important as well. We don't want to stay there. We don't want to stay in those kind of low frequencies of shame and guilt and pride. Like, understandably, we have to get comfortable, I guess, there so that we can then transform that energy into, I guess, joy, openness. And yeah, that's definitely what I'm trying to do. Just move it, acknowledge it, and then kind of lift it.
And what's so interesting is that you're choosing to use a choir of young boys. So what was the decision behind that for the chorus?
I guess I felt like there needed to be their voices on the track as well as my voice. And I guess I just wanted to juxtapose the kind of heaviness of what I was saying lyrically with their innocence and with their innocence, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you as well, as we move on in 2021, do you think, not just the EP you created last year and Heavy, do you think, you are going to move forward with music of purpose? Or are you going to let that personal Vicky shine through with songs about love? Like, what's your vision for the next year?
Do you know what? My vision is just to be me. It's just to keep expressing what I'm experiencing right now. I feel like I'm very much in a time of my life where I'm in a spring season where I feel like I'm blossoming. I've kind of like letting myself take up space and letting myself experience love in all forms. Like, I grew up with a single mom, me and my sister. So I guess I've had to be the person in the family, or felt like I needed to kind of take on that responsibility of growing up very, very quickly and being a caregiver. I went into foster care when I was young as well. So this idea of like family and belonging is very much, I guess, something I'm growing through. So yeah, this time in my life, I'm really learning to see my people, accept my people, and open myself up to more love and holding space for love, and what that even means romantically, relationally, sexually, as a woman in this time. Yeah, a lot of kind of ideas around love and allowing myself to blossom, for sure.
Yeah. And do you think, as we're, as a young person for me, who's listening to your music, or you as a young person, going through your journey, what do you think is kind of, like, what do you hold space for in your life? I know you mentioned about love and stuff like that and community, but, what other stuff do you think, I'm going to give myself time for this, like self-care, like
for sure.
Going out.
For sure.
Yeah.
I hear you. I guess what's really grounding me at the moment is meditation. I have to hold space for that because it just helps me to hold space in my mind to just slow down and be here now and not kind of run away with expectations, right? And it's nice to dream. It's nice to kind of live in the future, or even to kind of, my mind sometimes goes to the past to want to reminisce and feel that sense of nostalgia, for sure, in this time. But I guess my practice is just to be here now so that I can kind of really appreciate what is happening and to notice the blessings that are here. Moving my body more. I need to be so much better with that. Oh my gosh. Like, the gyms are closed and I feel like I'm about to complain, but I'm being more, I guess, mindful of moving my body and making sure that kind of the energy just doesn't become stagnant, right? I just want it to keep like moving. And more fun, more play. I think I've been a very serious person for most of my life, like very like intense and very focused, which I love, but I'm also opening up to more just like, let's just shake it off, Vicky. It doesn't have to be so serious all the time. Yeah.
No, that's a good goal for 2021.
Right, thank you. We'll be on it together.
Honestly, yes, I need that as well. And kind of linked to, all of the work you do, as a musician, and also with the gifted, with gifted and the circles. I wanted to say, like, you do so much. Like, you are kind of a mentor, you're a musician, you're a businesswoman. Like, you've got all these different Vickies. Do you think each of them help each other? Like, does your, role as, in you were a teacher. Do you think that inspires, your, thing as a musician now? Like, do you think they're all linked or?
For sure. Growing up, I used to think I could only be one thing, and then almost like everything else would disappear. But the more I'm growing, the more I recognize like I'm all parts. I'm the sea and the tree and the sky and and the rock. I'm a part of this world. And the more I'm meeting more and more people, I'm recognizing loads of kind of qualities in other people that I can also kind of see in myself reflected back. So I guess I'm just learning to accept all these different sides of me and trust that the more I lean into those different sides, the more, with time, right? I always think I have to be everything at once right now, and that would put a lot of pressure on myself. But now I'm just like, let me just flow with things. Today, I'm writing and I'm the musician, Vicky, and tomorrow I'm mentoring and giving everything of myself to this person and watching that person grow. And then the next day I'm coming back to writing. As long as like in each moment I'm fully invested, then I just let go, really.
And I think it's so fulfilling to do that because you're not pressuring yourself to, be a mold of a person for a week or a month. And it almost maybe lets you flow through the different roles. And it almost inspires you to do one better and do,
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
And kind of last few questions. In your circles, I know because I've attended, you talk about quite, very, I don't want to say serious, like very deep things about, forgiveness and ambition and progress. When you choose the kind of stuff you talk about in your circles, do you draw on your personal experience, or is it more about, holding the space for everyone else to share?
I guess a bit of both. I'm very much like listening to what everyone needs, and I guess creating that space to be like, look, I'm sensing this is happening right now in the world even. Let's hold space to talk about this. And also like knowing that life is full of cycles. So I kind of approach them in a very cyclical nature, like, right, we talked about forgiveness last kind of month, let's talk about it again. It's still something we have to deal with, and still like, I guess even reflecting on how far we've come also is a great way to start the circles as well. And
I think in general it's just such a celebration of women, because every circle I've been to, it's just about you encouraging them to say how their week was and talk about things that they're proud of. And it's such a great vibe to be around, because I think as a society sometimes we do tell people to not brag in a way. We almost say keep your ambitions to yourself and keep your wins to yourself, don't publicize it. But it's so refreshing to be in a room where people can be like, oh, I did this today. I got my bag last week, like I'm really proud of it. So it's so like that feeling of pride is something that's so needed, I think, as we progress.
For sure.
But I love what you do with circles, and the fact that you hold that space for people.
Thank you. I'm learning too, right? It's for me also to be like, practice courage and practice celebrating my strengths in a very public way. I think it's needed for sure. Like, why not celebrate each other? Why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
Every week. We should do it more often.
We should.
But I just wanted to kind of end on a note of optimism, and I wanted to ask, what are your, what do you hope to get out of 2021? Like, let's say 12 months from now, you, Vicky, will look back and you'll look at, everything I'm sure will have accomplished, and, all the personal growth that you've done. But now, looking forward, what do you think it's going to be for you? What do you want?
I love that question. I would love to have another project out that explores this kind of spring season in my life. I would love for my community of incredible women to feel so strong and to feel like they have other kind of sisters that they can feel supported and encouraged by. I would love for the world to feel hopeful, for sure, as we kind of have gotten through another tough year. Well, at the beginning of this year, it feels quite tough. I would love to see my mom very proud of me. I'm still much that, like, very much that girl.
Same.
I would love, to kind of look back and be proud of myself too. I don't even know whatever's ahead, you know. I'm learning to let go of that kind of, I guess, outcome.
Like schedule.
Exactly.
I'm going to accomplish this by that.
Exactly, and I feel like I'm in kind of the right rooms now where I feel like people are noticing who I am, and in discussions where I'm like, okay, this is great. This is exactly where I wanted to be. And I guess taking that on and trusting that I deserve that and seeing where that takes me. Yeah.
Like owning your progress and owning your success.
Exactly.
It's just as important as, you know, owning your moments where you don't feel that great or
exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
And kind of finally, just with your music, what do you hope, you know, as Heavy comes out and, you know, people listening back to your 2020 EP, what do you hope, you know, listeners will gain from it? What's the message you want them to take away?
I guess even from the first one, I really went there. I call it like my winter project. I really went into my kind of deep sense of loneliness, heartbreak, pain.
Hibernation.
Yes, hibernation. And I now guess moving into spring, that you can do it all. You can literally do whatever your heart is telling you to create. I guess giving everyone permission to do the same and to go there and to trust that on the end is something wonderful, right? You feel just more, for me anyway, more connected to myself, and therefore I'm able to connect with more people and hold space for more people. Just keep dreaming. This time really needs a lot of dreaming and a lot of it's an opportunity for people to create a new world, I feel. And that time is now to really kind of surround yourself with people who are kind of aligned with your values. And I guess create a bubble around each other, quite literally. And that's your bubble that I hope you continue to thrive with towards the end of the year and beyond, for sure.
So everyone's in their spring stage together.
Literally. I feel like we're in a revolution right now or something, a cultural revolution. Yeah, for sure.
It should be called.
For sure.
But those are all my questions. I love talking to you. Thank you so much. For
sure. Thank you also for being so wonderful.
Of course. And thank you for letting me talk to you about all of this. It was really fun. And I'm such a fan of Heavy, genuinely, as a track. So I can't wait till it gets released and to see all the visuals you create for it.
Thank you. We'll catch up soon for sure.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
And I hope it's productive.
Bye, girl. Bye.